Right, so this is the heated bed mount. So you've got the base plate here. So parts you need for that are the 3 zip ties for the linear bearings here. So you've got the 3 linear bearings. We've got the heated bed mount, which is this bit here. So just better look at that. That's the bit to find. And then you've got basically the hardware, just a couple of bolts. So first bit off, attach this onto here. So you can do that via I'll tighten those up properly later. With that in place, linear bearing 1, linear bearing 2, and then 3, and then with the zip ties. Put the zip ties underneath, I think. Right, make sure that's properly tensioned. And take scissors and snip off the excess. God knows where the last one went. Right. That's that bit done. Right, so the Y-axis assembly, well, the base bit. Starting off with the idler, which is the first bit in the instructions. You need to find out this bit. This is the what's known as the Y-axis idler. I found out I'm supposed to put the bearing in there, but it wobbles around a bit. So I've added a couple of extra washers to what they recommend. So that now goes either side of that before going into the slot there, and gives it a bit of a better fit. They're the M8 washers, and it comes with the M8 bolt. Put another one on there, slot that all the way through there, and that's somewhat in place. Put another M8 washer on the other side, put the bolt on, and it says loosely tighten it up, and that's your idler. Next bit for this idler is to put the M4 nut into the slot that's provided, that's in there. Now, the M4 nuts that they provide are the outside bit is far too small to actually fit in the slot that's been moulded onto there. So I've wrapped a bit of tape, thin section of tape around that, so that when you actually put it in to the slot, and it's the right way around, it actually goes in and stays put and acts as a nut trap rather than just a circular hole. Put in the 20mm M4 screw, and that's that bit started off. So that's the idler. Right, next bit up was putting the idler on one of these 210mm bars. Just double check that is 210mm. Yes. So thread that. I'm assuming you actually need to unscrew that slightly. About in the centre to start off with. So you put it on exact later. It's about there. I'll clamp it down. What you're doing there is taking the M10 rod, which is this bit, and the M10 washers, and putting them either side of the idler. If I can pick it up. and locking that in place with some nuts. But in addition to that, take these other two. Two washers, and that completes that bit for the time being. Of course, the next stage beyond that is take another one of these 210mm rods and literally thread those on. It says 30mm. Just about exactly there. Put a washer on. Put a washer on. And that completes that bit. So you're just making a hair to go with that. So from then on, you go on to the other end of what I'm assuming is this full assembly. And assembling this section here, which I'm assuming is the motor mount. Oh, yeah, it is the motor mount. Put the appropriate washers on. Appropriate screws. Nuts. Drop the nut. Alright, I'll tighten up in a bit. The instruction I'm actually referring to is the wiki. And the wiki deviates slightly from the kit I actually got, but it's most of the way there, so it's not too much of an issue. Yeah, so eventually tighten this up full. This is of course easy to adjust later when you need to. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it'll do for the moment. Add on these ends. This is for the y-axis legs, as you could call it. And again, they go in about 30mm. Right, so that's quite a way off. So what I'm going to do is just adjust that. Then lock that down. Put the washers that need to go on. I'm nearly there for the ends, so you can start to see how the y-axis is going to start looking. So these are the ends. Slot them on, well, the legs. Pick that up and put, I need more than this. That's the problem with filming something. On your own, you can do it in about a quarter of the time. Right, make sure that these bits here can accommodate the smooth rods, because this will go at the end here. So you don't want the stop that side, otherwise you won't be able to put your end rod, the smooth rod on. Do the same for the other side. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm assuming, as this is an idler, that goes on, but let me consult the wiki. Aye, that goes sideways. Not how you normally expect. Okay. So this bit faces out like that. So these stops here face out. That's how that bit goes. So this is actually on the side where the rods are going to be here. Now let's pick up some more washers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that can go on there. You can already start to see how easy you'll be able to modify this by just lengthening these rods where you want, and potentially making a greater build volume, because, well, you can see the plate. It's not the biggest build volume in the world, but it'll do to start off, calibrate, make sure it's working, and then go on to expand it. So that's that bit. So they're 2 ends. Motor and idler on the frame. Next bit is to accommodate some actual Y dimension in. Right, cool. Right, so after doing these bits here, it's time to add some Y dimension in, and you can do that with the that's the 380mm M10 rods and the 350mm smooth rods. Yeah, so the way these go is basically by nut and bolt work, just basically screwing these on. So looks to me like that. Another one on there. Right, repeat that for the other one. Right, that's supposed to be 32mm. Yeah, it's a bit over. But should be fine, and can adjust later, of course. So that gets inserted into one of the assemblies. It's chosen this one in the actual wiki. And it looks to me like these go in first, such as that. It also says to add the threaded rods next, not the other half. Sorry, smooth rods. Then go in there. And that goes in there. Thread on. Well, insert the linear bearings on the other end. Fairly easy. And then bring in this part. Okay. Now to clamp down the full thing. Not quite sure why these are here for the moment, but I'm assuming it either has to go onto the frame, the sheet metal around here, to lock that in place. Actually, that's probably what it's for. But yeah, so just to do the rest of this, bring these through. quite conveniently, there's nice washer spacers into the moulded legs. I feel like I've done something wrong. And I have. Right. I won't do it, just to make sure that someone else doesn't copy this mistake. Ensure there's 2 washers in there. I need to do that again, because of course these clamp to the metal frame, and 2 washers are better because you want as much surface area, you don't want the nuts straight against the metal. Yeah, so I'll redo that quickly, and that'll go in there. Right, yeah, that's fixed, so 2 washers in that location now, and that allows you to clamp the what I've got is the steel one, the steel frame onto the y-axis. So that's quite nice actually. So yeah, so next part of the video will be to bring in the gantry, the Z and X axes of the build. Brilliant. Cheers for watching.